What's poppin', Guardians? My ear is in pain. I have some type of weird thing going on, so if I sound weird, it's because my whole body is in balance, just like the Destiny sandbox is about to be in Edge of Fate. For those that have not been keeping up really with what's going on with Bungie and what's going to happen in Edge of Fate in terms of stats and especially weapons, weapon stat will provide a 6% damage boost in PvP on the highest end. So once you're at 200 weapon stat, you're going to get a flat 6% damage boost for all your weapons in PvP. In PvE, there is a lot of bonuses, and hence why everyone now wants to have like weapons and super at 200 stat if possible, but definitely, you know, this is a PvP channel. I'm a PvP nerd. I am going to be competing in the raid race, but I'm really not going for the first place. I'm just want to complete the emblem and yada yada. So not so much of a big deal on the PvE side for me, but in the PvP side for me, yeah, this is a big deal because there's so many drastic changes here and so many things that basically undoes annoying nerfs that were in the past. Spoilers, Bygones is back and better than ever, and Redrix is going to be even stronger than ever before. So let's dive in real quick. I'm going to be going line by line, but I'm mainly going to be showing you also some footage on some examples that are some crucial changes, and also going on D2 Foundry to also make sure to give you a more visual on numbers and for things I don't have footage for. But let's dive in. So let's begin with 140 adaptive hand cannons, and I do have this chart that you can see in the description as well to make it easier. You can access it, that way you can have it for future references, and it does go with all the changes and even some other situations and with my notes along with it as well. I did want this to go more extensively into exotics, especially exotic outliers, but I just ran out of time. Like honestly, Edge of Fate it went from 1 month being away to 2 weeks to now it's literally in 2 days. So if you haven't already watched my judgment video, it's very important that you do, just so you can see the adaptive 140 change. 140 with precision instrument will allow for a 2 crit 1 body, making aiming a lot easier. If you're in mid-tier elo, if you're in mid-tier MMR, this isn't a big deal because most of the time you're really either having a lot more easier time shooting for 3 crits because people aren't moving as fast. But in the higher end, I'm talking about like the top ascendant players, yes, egotistic, whatever. But this is where it does matter. 2 crit in 1 body is insane because it makes getting a kill so much more easier than ever before. And this is a big deal with 140 hand cannons because they have the more reasonable time to kill, especially against like aggressive frame 120s, which is still a big problem. But thank goodness, 6% does really nothing. It doesn't do anything at all, and especially Adagio Criminals already gets that 2 crits on a kill, so it's not really a big deal. Lightweights, which is very few in the game, it's just gonna be the same as 140s in theory. I did just fill this in right now because I forgot about it, but it's not really gonna be a lot of a difference because the numbers are very closely the same. Precision frames 180s, the salt pile special, did it change? Yes, because with precision instrument, it allows for the 0.67 TTK crit to be a lot easier. Now I'm gonna remove this part about the major flag because that's why I thought that the new one was a 180, but it's actually a 140. But yeah, this is scary because there's a lot of great guns that are gonna be achieve that TTK so much more easier. 1 precision instrument stack lets you get 0.67, and I'm using Foe Tracer as an example for 6% damage boost, and yeah, just 3 crits, and that's faster than a 140. A 140 is 0.87, so this is a big deal. And most of those, if you get used to the recoil of this frame, it's really strong. It's really crazy. And heavy burst doesn't really change at all because 6% is not enough alone to shift the TTKs, but it does make it easier to reach a 10% damage boost, which is all you need in order to get a massive TTK shift. So just keep that in mind. This might change, but this is not something that right away is going to be noticeable. And now let's begin with the pulse rifles, adaptives. So we're going to see the footage real quick too. You can see that clearly it does take a 6 crit in 1 body in order to get a kill. The health pool is going to be left really, really low, but when you have the 6% damage boost, which in the footage I use back wrist as the same thing as Foe Tracer, 6% is enough for an insane drastic shift, which is of 6 crits, which will give you a 0.6 TTK. Do you see the problem? We just escaped this Bygones beta, and now we're back again because of 1 simple change. Now, I propose that I think 5% would be more reasonable. It actually would prevent Bygones from being this strong, but 6% is very much the oversight Bungie is having with this, with the numbers that are not ran. And it's gonna make a big difference in this too. Lightweight pulse rifles, the 450s, from a 0.87 TTK of 7 crit 1 body to 0.8 TTK of only 7 crits, It's not as strong as a BXR and a Redrix. Now, those guns definitely have a lot more stronger of a stat pool, which is what makes them better. The only other one that's just as good is going to be from the Last Wish raid, the pulse that's from there, can't remember the name. But that one is one of the only outliers for this case. Other lightweight pulse rifles kind of suck. They don't have as good of a stat package. So just keep that in mind. However, of course, everyone has a BXR, everyone has a Redrix, so you're going to expect that later when we go over that. High impact was the biggest thing, was the concern is like, oh no, we're going back to a messenger meta, a heavy pulse rifle meta. Thank goodness that's not the case, because 6% load is not enough to shift TTKs. However, it will adjust the range nerf that they had. However, this is me adding this vocally, Headseeker might become the next thing that will make high impact strong again, and that's concerning because a lot of people probably held on to the high impacts. Heavy burst rifles, the 2 burst rifles, need a lot more higher damage boost to really shift the notable TTK, so it's not going to be super noticeable. Aggressive frames are going to be the same TTK, however, it goes from 8 crits to instead 7 crit 1 body. It is actually really good for those pulse rifles because they're actually extremely strong. It's just that nobody uses them because the 4 burst is very awkward. It's a little bit too much for a lot of people, but expect that to rise once again. Rapid fires, they recently got a lot of buffs that really makes them a lot more stronger. So 0.8 TTK from 8 crit to 1 body to 0.73 TTK of only 8 crits because of the 6% damage boost. Yeah, that's kind of nasty. That's losing 1 whole bullet needed in order to kill. Now, you do have to get the perfect crits, but in the game of Destiny, that's easy. The aim assist just does it for you. Even on mouse and keyboard, the bullet bending is insane. Now we go to the Legacy PR55, and this is where I'm scared. This is where I'm concerned because it undoes all the nerfs that Redrix got, because it goes from a 0.87 TTK of 7 crit 1 body to a 0.8 TTK of only 7 crits. If you have not done some comp, do some comp. Get Redrix, because this is a joke. This is a fucking joke that this is gonna be back again in such a annoying meta of a pulse rifle that's just gonna dominate everything. We've been here before, but you know, it's just troublesome. And yes, this is only the trade-offs of a stat, because you have to have 200 weapons and nothing else is gonna be really standing out. But in a world of PvP, who people barely even invest into like stats, they barely even care if they have any the min-maxing. It doesn't matter. You already are just, you invest heavily into 200, which is very clearly going to be easy, as Bungie has been stating, as long as you're just focusing on one stat, and that's it. You're going to dominate. It's a joke, but we'll see. I just expect a lot of changes in the next couple months, and by couple months, I'm talking about like 3 to 6 months. I don't expect the sandbox to be very forgiving, to be very fun, but it is what it is. I mean, personally, I'm probably going to enjoy it because the ammo bar, the ammo system is back for special ammo. I've been sick and tired of special ammo jousting that I'm glad Night Rain exists. I'm glad Rainbow Six Siege has existed, because this has been a great vacation off the PvP. But enough of the rant. So auto rifles, I will make this a lot easier and a lot quicker for the video's timeline sake. It's just generally getting the best TTK is easier. 6% doesn't really change a lot for things, but the ones that are noticeable are the ones that they had a lot more tougher of time getting a fast kill. Now they will, or a lot more easier time to get a kill, because the reduction from 10 crits goes to 9 crits in 1 body. So that's very nice for a lot of these weapons. I know a lot of people have been stocking up on like 720s and even the other comp auto rifle, like that one's good too. 450s, which has always been dominant, is now going to possibly again be dominant, or at least more forgiving. I do like this, where it does make guns that aren't dominant easier to use, because 9 crits just to get the fastest TTK, which on average on these weapons are about a 0.8 to 0.9. Yeah, that kind of sucks. So 8 crit 1 body, that's fine, that's good. This area here, the pulse rifle area, I hate all of this. All of this is stupid. This is dumb. But there's some shine on it. Bows, precision, and lightweights, they don't really change. The only thing I have seen is someone talk about is that lightweights now, Lemonarch can get a headshot and a body shot, and the poison damage enough to do a 1 head, 1 body. I don't think that's much of a problem, really. I don't think it's gonna really make make anything matter. I mean, personally, I think Tiku's is going to be where it's going to shine out most, because there's a lot of times where the enemy is just one tap, just 1 HP, and that's because the frame is so weak. However, 6% would make it more easier, but how often are you seeing either bows? You're not really seeing either bows unless you're going against Cardinal Dive, in which in that case, GG. SMGs is also another problem category because all of them are getting changed drastically. Remember, Adaptives got some fat buffs recently. So lightweights from 0.7 TTK to 11 crits, 1 body, to 0.67 TTK of 11 crits. That's crazy. And a lot of these weapons are getting very similar stuff. The no shift in TTK for aggressive and precision, that's fine. However, remember, this is before target lock. So if we go to Immortal, 8 crits, 2 body, right? Without Foe Tracer, which is a pseudo 6% to simulate the weapons. 10.75, okay. Now we get into target lock, and we just drop a whole bullet. 0.67, 8 to the head, 1 to the body. Without Foe Tracer, 8 to the head, 2 to the body. Yep. It's gonna be a weird meta. I wouldn't be surprised if people are using bygones in this slot, in the top slot, and then the middle slot for SMGs are going to be using no survivors, just because they could have great range out in the outband and then close range with the SMG with target lock. So, but the one that I want to point out the most is adaptive frame SMGs, and it's solely because they've gotten insane buffs, range, they got in magazine size, they got in TTK adjusted values. Like, adaptives have really shined out, and there's very little in the game, and I feel like we're going to be getting more. I need to double check to make sure on the other Google Doc that what weapons we're getting. I believe there is one adaptive SMG because we are missing out several amount, but if you roll up into Iron Banner, you can get one of the most noteworthy ones, which is the Hero's Burden. That one is really good, and it has Skulking Woke, which makes the SMGs, the players who are fighting at 1 HP, to just go off of radar, and that's huge. That's great in the game of Destiny. So without that, with just the base weapons buff, 0.7 TTK of 12 crits, 2.67 TTK of 11 crits. Just insane. And now for you console players, I'm so sorry to bring you some bad news. Adaptive precision frames are not going to be changing into TTK value. The 6% is not enough. However, the more scarier things you're going to see is heavy frames. 2 burst frames. The goes from a 4 crit to 1 body instead of 3 crit, 2 body. The TTK change is not there, but that's fine because that makes those guns a lot more stronger. Lightweights goes from a 5 crit to, instead of 4 crit, 1 body. That's kind of scary because Heliocentric is already a really good gun, so I can imagine that this is going to be very nasty. And here's the scarier one: adaptive frames, the 3 burst. 0.7 TTK of 6 crit, 1 body, to instead of 0.5 TTK of 6 crits. That's Peace Spawn, by the way. Everyone knows how crazy Peace Spawn is already. Just look at that. 6% damage boost, 0.73, 6 head, 1 body, 0.5, 6. For sidearms, this is easy. 6 crits in a row. That's easy. That's really easy. So, you know, we'll see how that unfolds. And rapid fires, the 450s, no TTK change. However, points goes from 6 crits to instead 5 crit, 1 body. That's I think there's gonna be more of a time when rapid fires. Imagine if a rapid fire sidearm gets target lock, then you're gonna have the same situation with SMGs. So I don't know. We haven't gotten one in a long time. I wonder if we will in this next year that unfolds. Sky rifles, easy. And yes, I did change this because I got them mixed up. Lightweight, precision, aggressive, high impacts, no change whatsoever. That's great. That's cool. That also affects like things like DMT, where it's not going to make much of a difference. But rapid fire is scary because those 260s, and yes, those are still wrong. Those 260s are gonna mean the world, because a 0.93 TTK of 4 crit, 1 body goes to a 0.7 TTK of 4 crit. It's insane. So just keep that in mind. If you ever see a rapid fire scout rifle that actually has some great PvP perks, keep them. Easy deadly gun to have. Now, up until now, I only ever talked about primaries because this is where we reach the area of the data where really the specials just don't change. They don't really change at all. There is some special notes for certain ones, and I will talk about some outliers as well. But I will go real quick that all heavies, some heavies are going to be stronger, some are not. I don't think heavies need to be tested as all because they're going to be doing super high damage already. So it doesn't really matter. Sniper rifles and special LFRs doesn't change at all. Sniper rifles and special LFRs don't really change at all because they still require one headshot in order to do massive damage. Body shot really doesn't matter. I think one hitting supers with adaptive frames actually is possible with 6% of a damage boost because that's all snipers really need in order to shut down a super. However, that's for adaptive frames, and I think even in the case of like a swashbuckler aggressive sniper rifle, it's not gonna 6% is not good enough because in order to get to that full body shot kill, you need to do 230 damage. And yeah, it's 6%, which will be 35% with the 6%. Yeah, no, it's not gonna be enough. Not even close. Lamau rockets items. If you're using these in PvP and you actually get a kill, please at me with your Twitter clip or something because it's probably the first one I've ever seen happen. Trace rifles. This is not going to be easy to test. I will tell you right now that trace rifles this season have been troublesome only because of the artifact and slice on the incisor and the other one that's from the dungeon. But any damage boost just makes trace rifles a melt machine. The exotics prove them themselves. So keep an eye on any good trace rifles that have outstanding PvP perks. Definitely the dungeon one right now is the best because it has the unflinching, which is very great to have on trace rifles because it's basically you have to connect the whole TTK, all the bullets to hit at once. So just keep that in mind that this is actually really good. Like this weapons buff is going to be really strong for them. It's just that they're not easy to test, so I'm not going to really bother with it. So sorry about that. Shotguns, 6% damage boost increases range, just flat out. This is scary for a lot of out of band shotguns that are really strong, especially slug rifles or slug shotguns. Slug shotguns are already really strong, and the famous hit the body and hot swap to a hand cannon to finish them off, that's going to be a lot more easier now. So this is scary because already we got Inquisitor, which is very strong and it's going to dominate the meta. I promise you it's just a Hawk Moon and a Inquisitor meta. And which, by the way, speaking of exotics, a Hawk Moon, I think 6% might actually shift the one hit to the head and body options. So just expect someone to make a video about that. If I do it, that'd be cool, but I don't even know. I'm not too sure what my plans are for the testing of all this, but it will be somewhere out there, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, maybe 6% damage boost might actually bring lightweights from the grave. Lightweight shotguns maybe be good again. I doubt it. Lamau. Glaives. Lamau. I just lol. Glaives in PvP are mainly just melee sticks. Are not really useful for damage unless you're chrono dive. But this 6% is not going to do anything. They already hit super hard. They already do what they already do, so it doesn't really matter. Huge rifles, same as shotguns, 6% of damage boost, which is just a big range boost, or it's just a great consistency boost. Kind of undoes the Zealot's reward nerf that did come out recently, but I don't think by much, so just keep that in mind. Special GLs, they might be troublesome because they deal hot damage, but right now they have not been ideal for PvP because of the nerfs they received a long time ago. Well deserved, by the way, and that's fine, that's great. And that's about it. I hope this video wasn't too long because I really just wanted to address the concerns that I had and also show off this document. Again, I did want to work on this more, I just kind of ran out of time. But if you want to talk about this more, if you want me to add any viewer comments, I can even add some viewer comments down below here of anyone else that would like to point out some things that are very important. So just, yeah, go crazy in the comment section below. If this reaches you before Edge of Fate, great, that's perfect. If it doesn't, and you're hearing this video as you're playing Edge of Fate, just keep in mind of all the weapons I stated out, and keep in mind of other things that already exist, like Word of Crota, Bygones, Immortal, Peacekeeper, Unworthy, the weapons I showed off in the footage, Judgment, and something else. But yeah, cool. Anyways, take it easy, Guardians.